Well, hello music fans. Welcome to my channel. This is Music is a Journey. I'm Peter. Happy New Year to you all. I hope you all had a safe and wonderful New Year's holiday. Today I am going to do the albums in my collection from 1975. This is kind of a tradition I started maybe about 3 to 4 years ago. At the beginning of the year, I would introduce the albums that are turning 50 in that year. I realize this is not a novel idea, and already YouTube has suggested 2 or 3 other videos about albums from 1975. This is my own personal collection, so it's going to be, well, anyway, my own personal collection. 1975, I might add, is an important year for me for at least 3 reasons. One, it is the year that my family moved from Montreal out to the west. First, living temporarily in North Vancouver in a townhouse very near the entrance to the Capilano Canyon Suspension Bridge, and then after that moving out to Surrey. If you want to know more about Surrey, watch one of my recent videos called This Is No Fun, about the band No Fun from Surrey. Also, 1975 is the year my sister was born and the year that my wife was born. Okay, so I have not exactly put these albums in any particular order, except that I tried to keep the hard, heavy rock near the front and the prog near the back. And as I have a tendency to talk a lot, I'm going to try to just do about 30 seconds for each album. So here we go. Oh, and by the way, if you know me, you know my channel, or if you don't and you just know albums from 75, maybe just for fun, you might want to pause the video, write down 5, 10, 12 albums, however many you want to write, and give yourself 1 point for each one that I mention in this video. So while you pause the video, I'll wait. 8, and then when you're ready to start, you paused the video too early. Anyway, ready to go? Here we go then. So first up, top of the stack here, I've got Led Zeppelin's Physical Graffiti from 1975. A lot of people say it's Led Zeppelin's best album. Some people say it's their last great album. Certainly, I think it is the last of the ones where I like pretty much almost every track. And in fact, probably one of the few ones where I do actually enjoy every track, or at least don't feel like skipping any. So a wonderful variety, double disc, various styles covered on here. I think it's a great album. Next up, Black Sabbath's Sabotage. Again, a favorite of many people. Some people say their best, Black Sabbath's best album, Hole in the Sky, and what's it called? Symptom of the Universe. 2 excellent tracks on here. The band going through legal struggles as they tried to separate themselves from their former management. Deep Purple, Come Taste the Band, the only album of the Mark IV lineup with Tommy Bolin on guitar. And along with that from 1975 is Tommy Bolin's solo album, Teaser, the first of his 2 solo albums he released before his unfortunate and untimely death. And I read somewhere Tommy Bolin said that while Deep Purple were on tour for the Come Taste the Band album, they allowed Tommy to play a couple of songs from his solo album as well. So he was very grateful for their graciousness. So 2 really great albums there. Bandolier by Budgie. This is the last of the Budgie albums I have. With regards to release date, the other Budgie albums I have are older ones. And to be honest, I have not listened to this one all that much. I think I prefer their older albums more, but I probably have to give this one another ear again. Alright, one I am more familiar with is the Scorpions in Trance, released in 1975, of course. The first of their saucy album cover series with a little bit of boobage hanging out there. Not enough that I have to cover it up, though. Interesting album. I don't like it as much as the other 3 Uli Jon Roth albums, but there's certainly some good tracks on here. Sun in My Hand, Dark Lady, Robot Man, anyways, kind of fun. Yeah, so that's the Scorpions in Trance. Also, Uriah Heap, Return to Fantasy. Their bass player, Mr. Thane, had died of a drug overdose, and singer David Byron was still with the band, but getting more and more dependent on that alcohol. John Wetton steps in on bass and also does some, I think, some backing vocals on this album, and then would take over doing a lead vocal, at least one, on the next album. Return to Fantasy, maybe one of the last of the really good Uriah Heap albums for a while anyway, although I do like the John Lawton era albums quite a bit too. Return to Fantasy, an album I do know since I've had it since my junior high school days in the 80s. This is Errol Smith's Toys in the Attic, the album that really brought them up forward. This is the one that, of course, has Walk This Way. And I always think of this one, Toys in the Attic and Rocks, as being a really great pair. And in a way, a bit like Nazareth's Razamanaz and Loud and Proud, where both albums are rather similar, but the second one just shows a little bit more confidence and maturity than the first. So anyway, Errol Smith's Toys in the Attic. And speaking of Nazareth, 1975 saw the release of Hair of the Dog, probably Nazareth's heaviest album, certainly with songs like Hair of the Dog, Miss Misery, and Changing Times. Changing Times is one of my all-time favorite Nazareth songs and one of my all-time favorite songs. I think I would probably put it on a list of 1001 songs to hear after you're dead, before you die. Take with you, whenever. So 1975, this is the international release of Sweet's Desolation Boulevard. This, though, is actually a compilation of songs selected from Sweet Fanny Adams and Desolation Boulevard as it was released in the UK. As well, I believe the version of Fox on the Run on this album here is the single version, which is different from the album version in the UK. So this is actually a compilation album of sorts, but for us over in North America, this was Sweet's Desolation Boulevard, and so I thought it was for a long time. I actually really like this one. I think they did an excellent job of selecting great songs to put on here, and it is a killer album. But I do have the other two UK ones. UFO's second album with Chrysalis, Faucet, otherwise known as Faucet, because of many faucets on the cover of this album. A running joke that the two people in the front are actually not a man and a woman, but two of the band members. Just a running joke, though. One of my favorite, if not my favorite, UFO albums of the ones that I have from the 1970s, but I do also like the No Heavy Pettin' album as well. I think both of those albums, this one and the other, make a great set. I like the more harder rockin' sounds that UFO can do. Armageddon from 1975, this one album only band featuring Keith Ralph, formerly of the Yardbirds, but also Renaissance. Bobby Caldwell on drums, formerly of Captain Beyond, as well as one of the Winter Brothers bands. Was it? I don't remember, so never mind. The other two members on here, I don't remember their names off the top of my head, but both of them were formerly in a band called Steamhammer, and one of them was formerly in Renaissance, the original lineup with Keith Ralph. Anyway, Armageddon. To me, it reminds me of a really kind of, like this kind of album cover, dusty, dirty, grittier version of Led Zeppelin's Presence, which to me seems more clean and nice. Bad Company's third album, Straight Shooter, with the song Feel Like Making Love. This was the third album, right? There was Bad Company Running with the Pack and this one, or was it this one running, whatever. Anyway, Bad Company, Straight Shooter. Pretty cool album, that one. And this one kind of surprised me. I forgot all about almost that I had this. This is the Tubes' debut album. I've probably listened to it only a couple of times, but I do remember White Punks on Dope. And there's a fun video on YouTube of the band performing that song live. And the main dude in the band, I forgot his name now, but he's wearing one crazy outfit. So that's the Tubes. That's another album I need to listen to again. Moving on, well, we've got two albums from Rush in 1975, Fly By Night and Caress of Steel. Fly By Night being the more straight-up Rush-style hard rock album with now Neil Peart on drums and a little bit of prog, whereas this is more of the prog album with a little bit of straight-up hard rock, both with Neil Peart on drums. Unfortunately, this was the album that saw the band losing its popularity with the record company. But it is, of course, also because of what happened here that they went ahead and did 2112, which then brought them success on their own terms and made Rush basically the successful band that we have known ever since. Also from Canada, we can take a look at April Wine's fourth album, Stand Back, featuring the songs Come Hear the Band and Tonight is a Wonderful Time to Fall in Love, which are the two songs that I always loved about this album, but also Ooh What a Night, Victim of Your Love, Highway Hard Run, some other hard rockin' ones, and I Wouldn't Want to Lose Your Love, one of those Miles Goodwin ballads on there. It's a really good album, and because of the success of this one here, their next album, The Whole World's Going Crazy, actually went platinum by pre-order sales only. I mean, alone. Alright, then, Mahogany Rush, their third album, Strange Universe. This is my favorite of the 5 that I have. I have the first 5. Love the song, 1000 Nights, Land of 1000 Nights, and Dear Music. And I really like the song The King Who Stole the Universe. That is has such a cool story to it. Still, we hear a strong kind of Jimi Hendrix feel to it. Frank Marino's singing style and playing style and guitar tone is a lot like Jimi Hendrix. There's a kind of funny story about when he was 13. Well, it's not so funny, but when he was 13, he OD'd on acid, and because of that, he decided he's never touching drugs again. But because his style is so similar to Jimi Hendrix, people said that when he was in the hospital, the spirit of Jimi Hendrix entered his body, and that's why after that he could play guitar and sing like Jimi Hendrix. Right. Moxy, another Canadian band, their debut album from 1975 here. This is an excellent hard rocking album. Actually, Moxy's albums are all excellent hard rocking albums. This one here being unique because it has Tommy Bolin doing a lot of the guitar solos. Story being that their guitarist got in some disputes with the producer, and the producer told him to get out of the studio. Tommy Bolin happened to be in a studio nearby and liked what the band was doing, so agreed to come on and do some of the lead guitar work. Moving more into progressive territory now, this is Kestrel. This is the one and only album they released in 1975. Their own one and only album, period. Anyway, an interesting prog rock band, somewhere along the lines of Yes, but of course their own individual band. They did not like the album cover, but it has since become somewhat iconic for them, and because of the popularity of the image associated with the name, the band have since come to terms with that. So that's Kestrel. Kansas actually released 2 albums in 75. This one here, Song for America, and the other one, Mask. I don't have Mask, but I do have this one, and of the 5 Kansas albums I have, this is my favorite, and Song for America is my favorite Kansas song. I think this is an excellent, excellent album. Debuting in 1975, here's Journey, and they released 3 albums under this no Steve Perry lineup. Steve Perry would join in for the 4th album. Of their early ones, I actually preferred Next Best, although I haven't heard the other one, Look to the Future. Is it worth getting? Anyway, here's Journey's debut. Very, very big album from 1975, Pink Floyd's Wish You Were Here, the remarkable follow-up to their ultra-successful Dark Side of the Moon. This album, well, a lot can be said about it, but I think the most interesting story from this for me is while they were recording it, and the song Shine On You Crazy Diamond being a tribute to Syd Barrett, Syd Barrett came into the studio as a overweight gentleman with shaved head and shaved eyebrows, and almost wasn't recognized by anyone. I think one of the band members recognized him, and he kind of just silently moved about in the studio, maybe said a few words and left again. And it was like, was that Syd? But that shaved head and shaved eyebrows inspired Roger Waters then to write the character of Pink Floyd in the movie The Wall to do the same thing, to shave his head and eyebrows. So it's interesting how that inspiration from Syd Barrett kind of circled back and inspired again another future project. Anyway, Wish You Were Here. Then Hawkwind Warrior on the Edge of Time. And this is an actual box set of 3 discs, which I have not listened to now for several years. But one of the things I like about this is it includes the studio version of the song Motorhead, written by Lemmy Kilminster, who of course later on took that song title to name his band after leaving or being departed from Hawkwind. This is a really cool album, but I have not listened to it for a while, and I only have 2 Hawkwind albums anyway, and I have not listened to either of them for a while, so I'll have to take care of that. Styx. Alright, so their song Lady finally became a success 2 years after its release, and with the success of that, they were picked up by A&M. This is the first Styx album with A&M Records. This is also the last Styx album to feature John Serlutsky. And for me, while it is maybe not my favorite Styx album, like regarding my impression of all of the songs together, it is one of my favorites just because I think I like the artwork. The songs that I like on here, I do really like. Don't really need to hear Lorelei. Again, that's a little bit too much. But yeah, a lot of the other tracks, especially the John Serlutsky one about Mother on here, and then the closing track about America. Yeah, cool album. I like it. Queen, Night at the Opera. Yes, of course. What else can you say about this? Bohemian Rhapsody is on here. My Best Friend, I'm in Love with My Car, but also 39, which is the Brian May song about the rocket ship taking off to discover a new world and returning to Earth only a short time later by the rocket traveler's perspective, but over 100 years later by Earth's perspective. Also, Prophet Song. The Prophet Song was actually written during Queen's earlier days, but was finally featured on an album here. So it is probably one of the, if not the heaviest track, especially one part where the guitars and the rhythm section really hitting it heavy there. So that's because it was a leftover from the days when Queen actually were a heavier band. So yeah, there's that. Death on Two Legs is also on there. Yes, taking a bit of time off, and Chris Squire coming out with Fish Out of Water. I just got this around October, November last year. Finally, it's a used copy, not in the pristine condition on the case and everything, but all the contents are in good order. This has the actual disc plus the actual album, plus a bonus track, which is a condensed version of Lucky 7, and then a DVD of live performance on here. So Chris Squire, Fish Out of Water. Where am I going here? I'm going in the opposite direction. Vandergraaf Generator, God Bluff. This is my favorite Vandergraaf Generator album. They actually parted ways for a couple of years, but I think due to their popularity in Italy, they got together again to make a new album. This is, yeah, as I said, it's my favorite. Each track just gets better, is just better than the previous one, and the final track, Sleepwalkers, is my absolute favorite Vandergraaf Generator track. I think if all Vandergraaf Generator albums impressed me as much as this one, I'd be a bigger fan than I am. As it is, I have 3 albums, thinking about another one maybe. Minstrel in the Gallery by Jethro Tull. Not exactly one of the more popular ones, but I do enjoy the title track for that Martin Barr guitar solo. Just the guitar. And it does actually go into almost like an early progressive metal feel to it, I think. I also really like the One White Duck because I love those slower, not slower, just gentler acoustic pieces that we heard on Aqualung, on a couple of tracks on Aqualung as well. I like those. So it's pretty good. I wouldn't say I'm totally nuts about this album, but I'm glad I got it. I think before we get totally into the rest of the proggy stuff, I gotta mention 2 pieces of vinyl here. Iron Butterfly, Sun and Steel, and Iron Butterfly, Scorching Beauty. Can you see those? So these were both released in 1975. They feature Eric Braun from the Inagata Davida and Ball days doing vocals and guitar, and of course Ron Bushy, the drummer for Iron Butterfly on all of their albums. Noticeably missing are Lee Dorman on bass and Doug Ingle vocals and keyboards. They've got some other folks in here taking care of that. But anyway, that's 2 albums from Iron Butterfly in 1975. I like the Sun and Steel one because it's a pretty hard rockin' heavy album. This one, Scorching Beauty, is a bit lighter and never really impressed me all that much. I have not got the CDs of those. There's a double disc set. Where are we moving here? Let's lift this over to this side. We've got Hatfield in the North with the Rotters Club, their second, and I think it was their final album? Not sure about that, but certainly their second album. What's his name now? I think it's Dave Sinclair doing the vocals and songwriting on here. Unique style of singing, certainly unique songs. I think also he came out of Caravan, didn't he? Not 100% sure about that, but there is that similar feel to Caravan. This was when I was really getting into prog, about 12 years ago maybe, and I was just trying to pick up all the classic albums and give them a listen to. This I wouldn't say is the one I would normally reach for, but it was different and gave a different perspective of what progressive rock in the 70s sounded like. So yeah, cool to have it anyway. Camel with the music inspired by the Snow Goose, music inspired by a book called The Snow Goose, but they were not allowed to call their album The Snow Goose. The author didn't like that idea, so music inspired by The Snow Goose. This is a very popular album by Camel. Unfortunately for me, I prefer Mirage, the album that came before that, or Moon Madness, the album that came after. This does really feel more like a soundtrack type of thing, and it has some tracks that I like, but I'm crazier about those other two albums, and that makes up the 3 Camel albums that I have. Harmonium, one of their 2 albums released in 1975. This is, I gotta remember what this is. This is Si on avait besoin d'une 5 saisons. So I think it's like if we had need of a 5th season, is how I would translate it. There is actually a proper accepted translation. Anyway, probably the most famous of the 1970s Quebec Prague albums. And my favorite on here is En Pleine Face. I really love especially the first half of that song. The singing style is really lovely. Okay, speaking of Quebec Prague, we also have Jean Ouel. Jean Ouel, I the I by Slosh. And my favorite track on here is a track called Algébrique. This is a mostly instrumental album. And as I said not that long ago in a video, I love the drum sound on this album. But this is some pretty crazy, slightly jazzy fusion type progressive rock. Really cool album. And then we have Morse Code, formerly known as Morse Code Transmission, which was more of a heavy psychedelic early 70s slightly heavy rock type thing. Here they go very much into Yes territory, and I believe they released 3 albums of that more Yes type symphonic prog. The opening track, Les Marches des Hommes, is really, really good, and Qu'est-ce que tu as compris is also one that I like on here. It's an interesting album. Yeah, Morse Code if you want to check them out. And let's see here. I think this is the last one. This is Renaissance with Scheherazade and Other Stories. A very popular album by Renaissance. Not my favorite of the ones that I have. But again, I probably just need to listen to it more. Okay, and that is it. That's what I have in my collection from 1975. I think it's around 34, 35 albums. Hey, what albums do you have in your collection? What are some of your favorites? I know I'm missing a couple. Ritchie Blackmore's Rainbow is one that I used to have on cassette. Probably there are a few others that I don't have that I should have. But tell me about your favorites in the comment section, and comment on any of these as you like. Thanks very much for watching. My next video will be about albums I have from 1985. Albums turning 40 this year. Alright everyone, take care. Bye.